we're getting a little bit far ahead of ourselves, but Franklin Graham finds you refreshing. He doesn't find me refreshing. Richard Spencer, the white nationalist leader, says he could vote for you.
Joy, this is why
you're on Tucker Carlson at least 10 times. Why don't you go on Chris Wallace's show?
This is why I'm here, because you and other people continue to spread these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am.
Well, Hillary Clinton started it, and then you shot back at her, boy. You called her the queen of warmongers.
You doubled down, unfortunately, you doubled down on the baseless accusations that she made that strikes at the core of who I am. I'm a soldier. Because of the attacks on 9/11, I enlisted in the military to go after and defeat and destroy the evil that visited us on that day. I've served now for over 16 years, deployed twice to the Middle East during the height of the war, where every single day I saw firsthand the terribly high human cost.
From the very beginning of Tulsi Gabbard's appearance on The View, there was an unmistakable tension in the air. The set, normally filled with light banter and orchestrated laughter, felt heavier, like a storm was gathering. It wasn't long before the first strike came. Joy Behar, flashing the same wry grin that had become her trademark, opened with a jab that seemed rehearsed. But what she didn't anticipate was the sharp counterpunch that was about to unfold, a moment that would leave the entire studio stunned, and the audience erupting in disbelief. It started with a seemingly casual remark. Joy brought up how certain controversial figures had praised Tulsi in the past, twisting the implication into a weapon. Richard Spencer says he could vote for you, Joy said. The audience fell quiet. This wasn't the rehearsed sparring of daytime TV. This was a confrontation, raw and unfiltered. The tension escalated quickly. Joy tried to keep her composure, flipping through her notes as if the next line could rescue her, but Tulsi wasn't giving her room to recover. "You think you can smear me, and I'll just smile for the cameras?" she asked, her words slicing through the air. "I've faced enemies overseas who are more honest than this."
I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
The crowd gasped, then broke into scattered applause. Joy let out a laugh, forced, brittle, but her flushed face betrayed her unease. The co-hosts shifted in their seats, uncomfortable as the balance of control slipped out of Joy's hands. But Tulsi pressed on, relentless. "You've made a career out of tearing down people you don't agree with," she said, locking her gaze on Joy. "But today you picked the wrong person." Her tone was calm, but every word landed like a blow. Applause rippled through the studio as Joy attempted to interject, only to be silenced by Tulsi's commanding voice. "No, you've had your turn. Now you're going to listen." The exchange grew sharper still when the conversation shifted, briefly, to the controversy surrounding the telescope construction on sacred Hawaiian land. Joy tried to frame Tulsi's stance, but even here, Tulsi stayed unshaken. "Sacred land is sacred land," she reminded them, her words firm but measured. "You can't just disregard that."
So, before I ask you the first question, what's happening with the telescope and the stuff?
Oh gosh, the challenge is ongoing. The challenge is ongoing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that?
So,
Just explain.
they decided, it was decided that they were going to go on sacred land.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And put up a telescope and do all this stuff. And the Hawaiians said, no, you're not going to do that. So it's been a fight. Tulsi's been at the forefront. Yeah. And I try to bring it up, you know,
I remember.
when I can, because it's, I think sacred land is sacred land. You can't, you know, you can't
anywhere.
mess with it. So I have to ask you this instead. So we were just talking about EU Ambassador Sondland changing his testimony yesterday, that he had to be refreshed about quid pro quo, and you've been skeptical more than a lot of the Democrats about the impeachment inquiry. Were you surprised by what he did yesterday?
Well, look, the facts are important, and we'll get to that. I want to start with something that I think is also important.
It was a moment of clarity amid the clash, reinforcing her image as someone grounded in principle, not just politics. Then came impeachment. Another co-host brought up the shifting testimonies from diplomats and asked Tulsi where she stood. Joy expected Tulsi to falter, but instead, Tulsi doubled down on her insistence that facts, not partisanship, should guide judgment. Her refusal to be boxed into a narrative irritated Joy further, who attempted to twist the discussion back toward accusations and smears. That was the breaking point. When Whoopi tried to label her as defensive, Tulsi shut it down instantly. No, I'm not defensive. I'm correcting you because you're wrong and you know it. The audience erupted into cheers, some even rising to their feet. Joy's smile faltered into a tight grimace, her notes shuffling faster now, but the harder she tried to regain footing, the clearer it became Tulsi was in control. Her words grew heavier, sharper. You invited me here to talk, yet all you've done is insult me. Is that what you call journalism? The sarcasm stung, drawing laughs from the audience. Joy attempted to brush it off, but Tulsi refused to let her wriggle free. This isn't about disagreeing with me, Tulsi continued. It's about you intentionally spreading misinformation to millions of viewers. The weight of the accusation hit the room like a thunderclap. Joy stammered, trying to push back, but Tulsi was unrelenting. Hillary Clinton's shadow loomed large over the discussion, and Tulsi addressed it directly. She denounced Clinton's record of interventionism and regime change wars, pointing out the devastating human toll they had caused.
Let me just close this out. That Hillary Clinton, throughout her career, has led with a foreign policy of interventionism and being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries that has caused such destruction and loss of life. I'm against that. It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in such a way.
But you called her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform.
That's not opinion, Joy. She cut in sharply when Behar tried to frame it as a difference of perspective. That's a lie, and there's a difference. The audience exploded in applause again, and Joy's shoulders slumped, her grip on her cue cards tighter than ever. The pressure only mounted as Tulsi declared, "You've built your platform on attacking people like me. But you can't bully someone who's fought on real battlefields." The studio roared. Joy tried to shrug it off with a dismissive, "I'm just asking questions," but Tulsi snapped back immediately. "No, you're making accusations. And you're doing it to attack my character because you can't win with facts." Even when a clip of Hillary Clinton's Russian asset comment was played, Tulsi used it to her advantage. "This is outrageous and offensive," she declared, citing her years in Congress, her military service, her intelligence briefings.
I ran for Congress.
We actually have the clip of Hillary Clinton, just to put this in context of what we're talking about. Let's take a look at that.
I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of, sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far. And that's assuming Jill Stein will give it up, which she might not, because she's also a Russian asset.
So
Really? I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageous and offensive on so many levels. I've served as a member of Congress now for almost 7 years, receiving high-level national security and intelligence briefings, serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the Armed Services Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, working to ensure the safety and security of the people of this country. This is why I'm running for president, to continue that commitment of service.
are you surprised, though, that when people see bots and things and all the things that we've sort of been seeing heading your way, that people have these questions? Because she's not the only one. Hillary, I don't think, is the only one. So what she's saying is she feels they are grooming you. You're saying nobody's grooming me. I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm a soldier and a patriot.
It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in
But you
such
called
a way.
her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform. I'm speaking out against that. And
What's
to
your evidence
change,
to that?
To change.
Well, can I?
Are you
can I-
serious?
Let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
I served in the war
Not
in
you,
Iraq.
her. You're saying that she's-
exactly.
she's a
I
warmonger.
served
How do
in
you
the
come
war
up with
in
that?
Iraq
Yeah.
that she championed. She championed a regime change
Did
war
you not
in
believe
Libya.
in that war?
I believe the lies that were told to us.
Well, so did she.
So it
The exchange could have ended there, but Tulsi wasn't finished. "You don't get to spread lies and then hide behind a smile," she said, her voice commanding the entire room. Joy tried to speak, but Tulsi cut her off once more. "No, Joy. Stop. You've had your turn. Now you're going to listen." The crowd erupted, and the camera lingered, capturing every second of the firestorm. Tulsi's final blows landed hardest of all. "You accuse me without evidence and pretend it's journalism. But the truth is, you're threatened by me. Threatened by someone who refuses to play by your rules." The studio exploded in cheers again, and for the first time, Joy was left in silence. That silence was deafening. And then came the knockout line, the one that would trend across social media for days.
because recently on your show here,
I was just going to get to that.
good, helping you out.
You want me to ask you the question?
Yeah,
No,
ask-
look,
ask
some
the
of
question.
you
Let me ask you the
have
question.
accused me of being a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse, or a
we haven't accused you of-
useful idiot, I think was the
Well,
term that you
useful.
used. Which basically means that I'm naive or lack
That's a
intelligence
Russian
to
term.
know what's going
They
on.
use that.
I want to let your viewers know exactly who I am.
All right.
Set the record straight. I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
If you don't want to be called out, stop embarrassing yourself on national television. The crowd roared, Joy's face froze, and the producers had no choice but to cut to commercial. But the damage was irreversible. When the show returned, Joy tried to regain her composure, shifting the discussion toward Kamala Harris and questions of race and gender in politics. But her tone was different now, quieter, restrained, hesitant. Tulsi, by contrast, sat calm and unshaken, delivering measured answers about leadership, people before politics, and reclaiming government for the people.
I want to ask you something else. Kamala Harris said recently that her race and gender are, quote, the elephant in the room, and that many still question if America is ready for a woman, and specifically a woman of color, to be president. And you're also a woman of color.
Yeah.
Is that, you feel, been a problem for you? Do you agree with her?
No, I think the American people are ready for a president that will put people ahead of politics, put people ahead of profits.
Then why is
And
she saying that, you think?
you have to ask Kamala that. I can't speak to why she's saying that. But what I've seen in our travels across New Hampshire, we just came from New Hampshire yesterday, across the early states, we have some New Hampshire people here, is we are building a code to bring about the systemic change we need to see to take our government back from the rich and powerful who control it and make it so our government is truly of, by, and for the people.
The contrast was glaring. By the time the segment wrapped, the winner was undeniable. Tulsi had entered the lion's den and left as the undisputed victor. Social media lit up instantly, clips of her calling Joy out spread like wildfire, hashtags trending before the show was even off the air. Supporters hailed her fearlessness. Critics of The View called it one of the most satisfying takedowns in daytime TV history, and Joy herself stayed conspicuously silent. Tulsi embraced the moment, releasing a statement later that evening. She thanked her supporters and reminded them, standing up for truth isn't always comfortable, but it's always necessary. That message resonated far beyond the walls of the studio, cementing the clash as more than just another TV spat. It became a national reminder that even on the most carefully managed stage, truth has a way of cutting through. And when it does, it cannot be ignored. Joy would go on to host many more episodes, but every time she sat in that chair, the memory of that day would linger. The day Tulsi Gabbard stood her ground, unafraid, unapologetic, and undefeated.